Hi, and welcome back to Rate That Album, back and forth album review between myself, Joseph Fremming, and my longtime good buddy, Paul Muad'Dib. Paul, is the spice flowing yet?
The spice must flow. The sleeper has awakened. Dude, now I want to talk about Dune. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. I am doing great, and for this week, I want to kind of continue on our kind of Halloweenish, fall kind of albums. And so I decided to go with Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill, which is, like I mentioned with Hellbilly Deluxe, Danzig with the Misfits was a huge influence on Rob Zombie, so I think these two kind of go hand in hand. This is kind of like a good follow-up to the last album we discussed.
Okay, so we're going to discuss the one conspiracy theory that I believe because I made it up. All right? Here's the thing. I think Danzig is actually Jim Morrison. I think Jim Morrison faked his death and became Danzig and is now Dan Morrison.
You only got part of the puzzle, Paul. I'm afraid I'm going to have to go into the dark origin of Danzig here.
All right,
Paul. So you're right. Jim Morrison did fake his death. He took a freighter ship back to the United States from Paris, where he decided to work at a pharmacy in Lodi, New Jersey. He works. At this time, the punk scene is starting to bubble up, and he's starting to get inspired to write music again. Only this time he doesn't want to write about breaking on through to the other side and Roadhouse Blues. He wants to write about 1950s horror movies, because in his studio apartment above a pharmacy of which he works, that's all he watches on TV is 1950s horror movies. So he decides to, he meets up with a fella named Jerry Only. And they kind of start writing songs together. And one night, a dark night, Jim Morrison, who now goes by the name Dan Marrison, he's reading from the Book of Nod. You know what the Book of Nod is, Paul.
I know the Book of Nod.
Yes. And he's going through the chapters and reading the demonic words aloud. And his eyes turn pure white. And he starts convulsing. And he falls to the floor, flopping. And what does he see, Paul? He sees himself as an old man in Las Vegas, about to do a big concert. But he doesn't really know much because he's never seen this before. And he's worried because he's expected to sing songs he's never sung yet. Because he got to understand, young Jim Morrison doesn't know what's going on here. So, and he's seeing all these skulls, these goat skulls, and he's really fat, and he's got a big goat skull for a belt buckle. He's very confused. You see, he turns to his right, and he sees a man, a wizard who is also an accountant named Clark. And Clark knows this future Jim Morrison's identity because he cursed him in that Paris bathroom in 1969 or whenever the hell Morrison faked his death. But Jim doesn't know, or Dan doesn't know this. Dan just sees this guy. But he says something that really takes him aback. He goes, Dan, sing. And that gets Dan Morrison all worked up. And he feels his heart just squeezing. And he realizes he's having a heart attack. And the only thing he can keep saying is, Dan, sing. Dan, sing. And meanwhile, 1975 Lodi, a very concerned Jerry Only sees his buddy flopping on the floor like a dead fish. his eyes are starting to come back, but the man, he keeps just saying these words, Danzig, Danzig. But he's a mumble mouth, Paul. He's a mumble mouth. So he just blurs it all together, and he just starts saying Danzig, Danzig. And from that day on, that's the only words he can speak. Unless he's singing, then he can sing. He can communicate like a normal human being. But if you ask him a question or ask anything of him, you'll only repeat the words Danzig, Danzig. And that's how Jim Morrison became Dan Marison, who became Danzig.
I knew I was right. That's all in his Wikipedia, isn't it?
You got to buy the special Blu-ray edition of one of his concert DVDs, and he lets it. He can't let it slip because all he can say is Danzig, Danzig. You can read between the cadence in his voice that there's more to that story. Anyway, we're going to talk about an album he did years after that horrific experience.
Yes. So this is Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So this is so Danzig, obviously, he's been on a roll at this point, going from the Misfits to Sam Hain, which is, Samhain, but he pronounces it Sam Hain like a goofball, so we'll just go with that. Sam Hain was his follow-up band to the Misfits, which was more lo-fi, which is weird for him, considering his voice, but kind of goes into more harder and darker territories. And yeah, it's hard to find. Sam Hain, you can find, they'll stream the albums on a YouTube video, but getting physical copies is pretty hard because they've just been long out of print. I scored a box set in '99.
Oh, nice.
That goes for a lot of money apparently. So yeah, but out of this Sam Hain, another lineup towards the end, including what is now the classic Danzig lineup, includes John Christ on guitar, Chuck Biscuits on drums, and yeah, he has a stupid name, but he's really good drummer. And Eerie Von, the bass player. Eerie Von was a friend of the Misfits. He was their photographer or whatever. And they signed to Rick Rubin's American Records label. And, Danzig was always, until he blew up with Mother in the 90s, he was more of a musician's guy. Everybody saw the shirts. Everybody saw the Misfits shirts and the Danzig shirts. Metallica was covering Last Caress, Green Hell. But to get your hands on Misfits CDs or Sam Hain, it was just not easy to come by because, contrary to what I think younger people, the Misfits weren't really popular in their time.
It came later.
Yeah, it wasn't until sorry, kids, but when Paul and I were growing up, you couldn't just buy Misfit shirts at the mall.
It was, no, you had to order them. You had to order Misfit shirts.
And so Danzig, his solo project, flushes out the sound. He's no longer in punk. He's more into, I guess, what they call blues metal. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that, descriptor until I was researching this. But yeah, very bluesy metal, very, taking lyrics from occultish type sources, like the aforementioned Book of Nod and other biblical things. And he's not a happy guy, I don't think. If you listen to his albums, they're pretty dark, and especially when he, this album and then Danzig 4, there's a lot of songs that reference suicide, so I'm guessing he's not, at least at this point. I think at this point in his career, I don't think he was a happy guy. I think he's come around a bit. I mean, he was in Portlandia as a vampire on a beach.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think he can laugh at himself now. But in the 90s, he took himself very seriously to an obnoxious level. And so we are talking his third output with this group, the Danzig, How the Gods Kill. I haven't listened to this album probably 20 years, maybe more. It's just, it's weird. I listen to the Misfits a lot, especially around Halloween. But I often forget that he had at least 4 amazing Danzig albums.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I often forget that because his albums after Danzig 4 vary between shit and oh my god, what the fuck is this?
Well, don't forget he also did the instrumental album. Don't forget the
Black Araya. He did 2 of them, Black Araya 1 and Black Araya 2.
Yes.
So he's a talented guy. Nobody's taken that away from him. But in 1990s, Glenn Danzig could not laugh at himself. And he would be angry if you brought up his old bands because guess what? When you become a big name in the record industry, they're going to milk that as much as they can. So the Misfits get reissued and all that shit, which I'm sure annoyed the hell out of him. Now people are demanding Misfits songs at his concerts from that point on. I've been to 2 of his shows.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I saw him in '99 when he did the Sam Hain reunion, which was really awesome. And then I saw him in like 2000, I want to say 2006 at First Ave, and it was he threw a temper tantrum because he couldn't hear himself on his monitor. And his bass player at the time was the bass player from Typo Negative. The guy's like 6'7", looks like a fucking pro wrestler, and Danzig's like 3'4", and he's trying to push the guy out of the way, and the guy's just not budging. And it's basically like, it's like any character from Game of Thrones trying to push the mountain. It's just not. So, yeah. So I've seen him twice. The first time was awesome. The second time, like, he just threw this hissy fit, and he played this song nonstop for like 10 minutes because he couldn't hear his vocals, which I'm sure is annoying. But like most bands would probably like at least push through the one song and then take a pause, not pause in the middle of this song that's already been going on 10 minutes. Go yell at your roadies to go back and finish that song that's already been going on forever. But yeah, so he's a weird guy, and I was kind of disillusioned at that last concert. But we're not here to talk about the stupid concerts I've been to. Paul, let's talk about How the Gods Kill. What are your first thoughts on this album?
So I don't remember. I mean, some of these songs ring a bell, and there's people I was hanging out with back in the day. I'm sure they don't listen to this, so I'm gonna say names. Bosshart.
Oh yeah, John.
And John Bosshart. He got me. I believe I heard this a lot of the times when we were hanging out, and again, having not heard it in years and years and years and years and years. Metal, heavy blues or blues metal is like that nailed. Like that just is like yes. That really sums up here. It's interesting, for Danzig having kind of this reputation. I mean, we talk about him being on Portlandia. They used him, and I don't know if it was actually him in it. I would imagine it was in Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yep,
that was him. Yeah, where he's the neighbor.
Yeah, and he's mad because there's. I think he says to like Frylock, I'm gonna eat my cereal out of your skull.
Yes,
one of my favorite lines in that show.
Yeah, because he wanted the haunted house, or and the blood, blood's gone. He's all pissed off, all this shit. So, yeah, absolutely. For him having this reputation of being like this kind of dark, heavy metal, horror metal type of guy, this album's really tame.
Yeah. Sam Hain is where he's does a lot of the more demonic occult stuff. I think with this album, he's starting to maybe put his more like his own actual thoughts instead of creating horror imagery. I think that's like where he's trying to like break off with this album, at least in my mind, because even this album, he has some pretty depressing lyrics.
Well, yeah, they're. I mean, we talk about suicide coming up later. Well, suicide's in this one. He's talking about a guy sucking on a gun, crying, and Danzig has that voice. We talked about that. He has this voice, and the thing with it is though is it really is a cross between Elvis, Dan Morrison. Yeah, Dan Morrison and Kermit the Frog. And I bring up Kermit because there's a couple times where I'm listening to this album, and I think it was Heart of the Devil. Where it does this thing. And I couldn't help but giggle. It really is crazy to me how, this was scary music back in the day. And not that music has gotten harder or anything like that, but I think it's just more of a test of just how far we've come as a society in terms of what really freaks us out now, which is like absolutely nothing thanks to the internet. Because this is tame. I mean, Sistina's is that went on one of my playlists. I absolutely love that song. It's probably the slowest song on here. But when I think horror and I think Danzig and I listen to this and I went, why did this scare people?
Yeah. Well, I think, at the time, a lot of people were. I think this stuff was getting to once this kind of music was getting more out of the punk clubs, I think, or the underground, and all of a sudden they're selling these CDs at like Media Play.
Yeah,
and parents were like, "Oh, this is shocking," and it's not, but. Especially by today's standards, even by back then standards, I think this album's pretty tame by Danzig's own standards. If you listen the lyrics and like, "Mommy, can I go out and kill tonight?" and
right, Mommy.
Yeah, but I think this was also him trying to be more commercially appealing.
I think so, because there's a lot of this is far more bluesy than it is metal. Yeah,
and I don't have a problem. So I'll get to the things I don't like. I think the lyrics at times, for me, just like, yeah, I get it. But where the lyrics aren't as great, the fucking music takes it to a level. You know what I mean? Like, the music saves a lot of them. Mm-hmm. It makes you forget like some cringier, like, oh yeah, we get it. You're dark.
Yeah. Dark and cold is my soul. And like you got songs like Dirty Black Summer. It's great musically, but there's nothing of substance in this fucking song.
no, but the fucking that riff, man.
That riff is amazing.
That riff makes it on my playlist alone. Like that's just. This was like. So that's also like when I listen to like this album, it makes me like this is like if Black Sabbath was fronted by Dan Morrison.
Dan Morrison.
You know what I mean? It's like Black Sabbath was pretty bluesy, especially those first two albums.
Oh yeah, they were. They were.
I think that he's kind of like taken his influence, at least in my opinion, on this album was Black Sabbath's first two albums. If I were to pinpoint like where he was getting his influences from at this point in his life.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So what didn't work for you, Paul?
What didn't work for me?
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that didn't work for me on this. Again, it's I think about it in terms of, as I said earlier, it's a cross between Elvis, Dan Marison, and Kermit the Frog. There's a couple of points in his singing where I kind of had a chuckle.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, Danzig. We get
it, buddy.
Yeah.
You can hit those notes. We get it.
Yeah. And, we talked about, there was the song that we both said where you had brought it to me because I was listening to it. I'm like, God, this song sounds so familiar. Yeah. Why do I know this song? And, it turned out that it was essentially a ripoff of Stevie Wonder.
Which is like, you would not assume that he'd be inspired by Stevie Wonder. It just does the Danzig and Stevie Wonder Intervisions album or whatever. They don't feel like they go hand in hand.
Yeah, there's not a lot of meshing there.
But I'll give kudos to at least if you're going to rip off a song, you might as well rip off the good ones.
Well, right, and yes, and it was so that didn't, like I said, the vocal portion of it, and like I said, some of the things where it's like, all right, yeah, we get it, we hear you, and a lot of the repetition with the lyrics, but again, as you said, the music, the production of it makes up for it.
Yeah. I drove around and listened to this, and that's where I realized I was driving and Bodies came on, and I'm like, that melody, that it was just fucking killing me. And then I got part of the Stevie Wonder song. I was like, people. So I actually had to Google it because I was just brain farting when I got to my computer. It's Higher Ground. Like, it's a cross between Roadhouse Blues and Higher Ground.
Yes.
But the musicianship on it is fucking great. It's just I can't unhear that now. No, but I mean it's very blatant. It's very, very blatant. It's there. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think they were trying to hide it. Because I mean, it is like the guitar riff for it. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds just like Roadhouse. It sounds like a Doors song. And I think kudos to him. Like, he's like, yeah, if people think I sound like Morrison, like, he's not going to shy away from it.
No,
and he does. He likes that bluesy metal or whatever. So it's out. No matter what, it's going to sound a hint of the Doors, and that's just his genetics with his voice. He can't.
Well, and that's the thing. There's throughout the entire album, there's pepperings of the Doors.
Yeah, and I think that's by design too. I think that was part of getting the commercial appeal with these albums, and I think these were produced, I believe, by Rick Rubin. Yeah, Danzig and Rick Rubin.
Yeah,
I'm sure Rubin, he's not an idiot. He's probably like, lean into that. If it sounds like the Doors and people like the Doors, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've had our run-ins on this podcast with Rick Rubin from here and there.
Especially the Beastie Boys one.
Yeah, yes. And Rick Rubin, for all his faults, he's got a damn good ear for things.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Johnny Cash albums he did, just fucking phenomenal. Absolutely. That's actually what got me into Johnny Cash. Because I'm not a big country guy, but I heard those American records he did, and I'm like, this is interesting. So.
Yep, you and I both. I knew of Johnny Cash because, my mom was in the country and I can't do it. I couldn't do it. And then he made fucking Cash awesome.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, yep, let's go there. So yeah, those are the few things that didn't work for me. What works for you?
All right, I'm going to go to the songs I really like.
Yes.
Because here's the thing. Some of these kind of like just blend in. It's just like they're cool and they kick ass, but they don't earworm me. And I'm a huge sucker for melody and shit like that. But I like Godless.
Yep.
Bodies I liked just because of I was able to figure that out, my sleuth work, and then I told you right away.
Yep.
Yes. The song "How the Gods Kill" I really like. That's just like it builds and it goes in like almost like classical at times, just different movements within it. "Dirty Black Summer" I love. That's just a banger song. And Sestina's I love because it reminds me like an old Elvis song. It has that 1950s rockabilly rock to it. But not like rocky, it's like a slower song, but it really just feels like it came out of Sun Records.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. Thank you for saying that, because it really does feel like it came out of Sun Records. That's like the bluesy, slow, absolute, and it's like dirty blues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to say that I agree with you on all those songs, but I would also include "When the Dying Calls."
Yeah, it's a great way to end the album.
It's a great way to end the album. Again, those, I'm trying to think. "Heart of the Devil" isn't bad either. I liked "Heart of the Devil." Overall, I mean, I would call it a very solid album.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's also like I said, I think it's very accessible.
Yeah, and I think that with his first 4 albums, he went for that and was wildly successful, and then he's decided to not make accessible albums. And we've never heard from Dan Marison again.
Except for in Portlandia
and all those shitty albums he put out after.
Well, except for your Aqua Teen Hunger Force, No, talk to me. Didn't he do a movie?
Yeah, he did. He has another. So he did a movie I watched on Shudder, Veronica, and it's like The Room, but not funny, and you just hate the experience. It's like the opposite of The Room of bad movies.
Oh,
it's
God.
Just bad. It's just bad. And then he just did one about like Western vampires, which it looks a little more humorous and self-referential. Eli Roth is in it, so maybe he kind of helped at least put a coherent.
Is that Death Rider in the House of Vampires?
Yeah.
Where the hell do I watch this movie? Hang on.
After Veronica, I don't think I want to watch another Danzig movie. Honestly, where Rob Zombie made movies, and as we discussed last time, like 2 of them were all right. Yep. I really love Devil's Rejects and 13. Danzig has not made a movie. I mean, like Veronica was worse than A House of a Thousand Corpses and all those other shitty Rob Zombie movies Rob Zombie did. At least they have that in common. They're piss poor filmmakers.
Yeah, I will give that. Oh, it's got Devon Sawa in it. Wow, we haven't heard of Devon Sawa in years. He's not been relevant. Okay, so where do I find this movie? Like where? Because I have to see this. Is it on Netflix? Is it online? No, I'm looking up how to watch this movie. It doesn't say where. It's now in theaters. No, it's not. Have you not updated your own website, Danzig?
Come on, man. Come on. Like, this is a guy, like, I forget. He did an album, and he got this producer guy. I forget the album, but I read it on, it was a Metal Sucks article. And this guy wrote, like, this column about how he was mad at, because he produced a Van Halen album, and Danzig saw him at like the Rainbow or whatever in the 80s, and like he was really proud of it. And Danzig said, "This sounds like shit," trying to be an edgelord. So this guy purposely volunteered to produce a Danzig album.
Are you serious?
Sole purpose of making it sound like shit.
Oh my God! Wow.
And Danzig fell for it apparently. Like I'd have to find it. It was like, I don't know if it was a joke or what, but like if true, it'd be one of the most hilarious stories ever.
Oh
I
my
was
God!
reading it. It was just like, Like he was talking about like trying to get Danzig to the studio. He was like too busy eating and watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like these little details just fucking killed me. Like, yeah, I can see it. Like Danzig's a weird guy. I was just like a few years ago, he sold a house in Los Angeles. I think it was L.A. As is that. So you buy the house, you get everything that the owner left in it. He left a mattress on the floor where I guess he slept. Action figures still in the boxes and a bunch of really shitty comic books and breakfast cereal. And it's just like, is he still like, is he still Dan Marison with the white eyes? In that studio apartment? Like he's stuck in Arrested Development?
Oh my God. Well, I'm looking at this. There's an article called Take a Look Inside Danzig's Shitty House.
Yeah. He's a weird guy. Like, yeah, I think he's a lot happier now these days. Like, he's like married, I think. And if not, like, whatever. He's just like, his girlfriend or wife, whoever she is, she posts like these photos on Instagram where he actually looks happy, which is jarring. It's like seeing a picture of Trent Reznor smile. Like your brain doesn't really comprehend.
Oh my God, this is dude. This is. I'm gonna have to download these and put I never put anything up on our pictures. I'm gonna have to put these up because
it's the action figure.
Yeah, the action figures, the Land Before Time figures, and the fucking Looney Tunes shit. And
yeah, it's weird, man. Like
it's not what you would think of a dad, like the Count Chocula and Frankenberry cereal. I just love it. The title of the article: Take a look inside Danzig's shitty house, currently on the market for $1.2 million. Like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, I get. He's a very strange guy, man. Like, yeah,
yes.
But you know, he had a really good run there, music wise.
Oh yeah.
To this day, I mean, I have those Misfit on vinyl. I love listening to it. If I could get this on vinyl, I probably would. But you know, he had a big falling out with Rick Rubin. So who knows where the hell any of that.
Do we know what happened there?
I'm just going off memory, but I think it was basically just creative differences. Maybe money was involved, like Danzig didn't own the rights to his own music, something like that. It was.
Isn't that been a common thing with like falling out with Rick Rubin?
Yeah, it's always been a money issue.
It's always been a money issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Except for Johnny Cash, like I think he died before the money issue became apparent.
Oh, yeah, you think? Although at that point, I honestly think Johnny Cash had enough money. It wasn't about the money.
No, he wanted to make albums he liked.
Yep. I really think it was that was more about art than it was music. I don't think Johnny Cash gave two fucks about the money.
He made his money.
But yeah, okay. I thought that there was always falling out with Rick Rubin when it comes to money.
Maybe creative differences. I don't know. It was a pretty bad break. I recall. So yeah, he's never really recovered. Like none of his albums have sounded as good as these 4 albums. I think Rubin really complimented that style he was doing, and I don't think he's found a producer who could replicate that since.
No, I don't think I would agree with you, and that's the unfortunate thing with Rick Rubin, right? Is that he is really good at what he does. It just sucks that everything comes down to a dispute about money or other shit. Yeah. Let's also talk about the painting because the album cover.
Oh,
because
that is Geiger?
That is a hell of an album cover.
Yeah. It's H.R. Geiger, man. His art is some of my favorite art out there. For people, if you don't know, he designed the aliens in the Alien movies.
Mm-hmm.
You should see his art, his for what would have been the 70s version of Dune.
Yes, that would have been amazing.
I don't think they did not have the ability to do that in the 70s.
They don't think they have the ability to do it now.
No.
I mean, to make that version of Dune. I mean, we got. I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about it since you brought up in the beginning. Have you seen the new Dune?
I have not. No, I plan on probably watching it tonight. It came out on Friday. I work nights and weekends, so I haven't had a chance to see it.
That's fair. Are you gonna watch on HBO Max?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me know what you think. I think that the cinematography of it and the scope of it was great. Like they make things feel huge in that movie. Like
and they break it up. They break the book up, so it's the part 2 of this movie is gonna be the second half of the book, right?
Yes, approximately where the second half of the book ends. I don't want to give too much away about where it ends. It doesn't end on a spot that you think it would, but it where I would have ended it in a slightly before where they ended it, and just to make it kind of feel like it does. That's one thing about that you hear complaints and about the reviews, and this is kind of a consistent one, is where they chose to end it and how they chose to end it feels too abrupt. It didn't end on a note of like, okay, that's cool, now we're ready for part 2. Like, this feels like when it comes out, like I won't buy it. When the first movie comes out, I will wait till I get the 2 disc or the both movies, because this feels like it's just really should have been one long movie, and why they didn't film both of them at the same time is a loss to me.
Well, it was because they didn't know there was gonna be, if they were to get a sequel or not. I'd rather have a Dune movie done right than a whole Dune movie done wrong. That's just where
So I will tell you, I mean, I'm actually rereading the book again. There is things that are right, far more right than the David Lynch version. But there are things that they left out that I feel like they should have, excuse me, left in, considering that the movie was 2.5 hours. There's some key things that they left out. I'll wait for you to see it, but I mean, I want your impression of it. You got to tell me tomorrow what you thought of it. Man, I got.
Yeah, you're so upset. You're sneezing all over the place.
I'm so upset. I'm sneezing all over the place. Look, I'm having a sneezing fit. Damn it! How unprofessional! How unprofessional am I?
That's what the spice does, Paul. It makes you sneeze because the spice is cocaine. That's why their eyes turn blue.
Eyes turn blue. Nose goes red.
So, Paul, would you recommend Danzig 3: How the Gods Kill?
Yes, I would. Wholeheartedly. This is a good album. I know I got the sneezing fit, dude. I don't know. It's a good album. You know, for a quote metal album, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not a metal album. I'm sorry, it's not. It is definitely a more of a bluesy, heavy blues album.
Blues rock.
Yeah, blues rock for sure, blues rock, and I think it's very, very accessible. I think that what works, and what doesn't work is going to make you laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, but I'd recommend it, and yeah, there's parts where you're just like, yeah, we get it, Dan Marison, we get what you're doing. But yeah, I'd recommend it. It's a solid blues rock, hint with a hint of metal, because you got those pitch harmonics in there. So,
yep, absolutely. So yeah, no, I would recommend it. I think it's a fun album. I do think it's a fun album, and like I said, you're gonna laugh at what he did.
All right.
So let's do plugs, because we're back to being caught up. What do you have going on with the Joe Down?
our review of The Frighteners is coming out this week. And then we're doing Willy's Wonderland to end out Halloween month. Willy's Wonderland is a Nicolas Cage movie where he fights animatronic robots in a Chuck E. Cheese type place. And I'm very pumped to watch that.
I have
a little more pumped to watch that than Dune, to be honest, Paul.
Dune's a better movie. Dune's a better movie. I've seen it. I was excited for it. And I was excited to see it, but let's wait for you to see it because I don't want to skew you one way or the other. But let's just say I was expecting more for what it is.
Not enough Chuck E. Cheese.
Not enough batshit Nick Cage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
not enough. It's a very much a shame because that screamed batshit Nick Cage, and I felt like there just wasn't enough of it.
Huh. All right. Well, I guess I'll find out when I watch it. What's going on with you, Paul? Then what's happening? I
got this going on. I'm gonna start trying to get the Stranger Things one going again. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but this one and the Stranger Things podcast is about all I'm working on right now.
All right, Paul. What is your next pick?
Oh God, I'm so glad you asked, buddy. This one's gonna be rough. All right, we've been riding the highs. This next one is going to be really, really rough. We are going to do Tommy by The Who, but it's going to be the motion picture version of the songs.
Oh, with the good version of Pinball Wizard with Elton John?
With Elton John. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of like his version better.
Well, you're not going to like the other version of have you listened to The Who, Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're familiar with the original. Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, all right. Then you know what you're in for.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, that's
Tina
what we're going to
Turner,
do.
the Acid Queen.
Tina Turner, the Acid Queen, and Margaret on a bunch of fucking songs. Jack Nicholson singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd argue it's better than the Who album.
Wow. I will say, well, I'll bring it up on the, well, no, I'll say it now and I'll bring it up on the next one. I will say that the order of the songs, it feels right on this version. They moved some songs around, they added some songs. And I think it works a little better as a concept album.
All right.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I'm pumped.
I bet you aren't. So that's an hour and a half of your time, buddy.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
We do it for the art. All right, my man. Well, do you want to take us out?
No.